Right, so on to part 4 of this tutorial. Let's say we want to create a black and white from this. It comes with the best black and white tool out there called Efex. So what I'd suggest at this point is go to your edit in again. This time select Efex Pro, and rather than edit original, I'd go for edit a copy this time. The reason for a copy is because you may want to change the thing you're seeing in the background right now into a colour shot, a vintage shot, or just do anything with it. So if we edit a copy, we're going to create a new file which is going to end up black and white. And again, I'm going to click cancel on that, and then go over to this one, which is Efex. So this is a bit more, I don't know what the word is, a bit more complicated, in your face, impressive. It's a proper professional tool, really. So I think the best way to get into it is to have a look down the side. There's always a load of presets. And they've got names like neutral, which is what I'm looking at now, underexposed, if it's something a bit darker. There you go, that's underexposed. Can be quite a nice starting point. And that's what these are, really. It's very rare you'll click on one of these and it'll be perfect. What you'll end up doing is tweaking and doing selective adjustments and playing with all the different tools there. So I've always quite liked the high structure smooth as a starting point, because it is relatively smooth compared to the harsh one. Although there's not a big difference on this particular shot. Okay. But to show you that's a low key, really low key. There's loads to go at, and if you go down the bottom, you start to get into the weird ones like film noir, which has a frame on it. Slight tone shots. You can do toning. Antique plates, so it looks like it's been done in the old way in a piece of metal. Pinhole camera effect. So there's loads of presets which you can amuse yourself with, and I think I'm going to go. I want it reasonably dark and moody. So let's go for high structure. I think harsh. The reason for that is there's a lot of grass and a lot of stones, and I want to see those details. Right, so let's have a quick look at the panels down here. It's like Lightroom, and everything else is loads of panels and lots to look at. So let's just close these down and go through one at a time. So global adjustments, that controls your brightness, and you've got ways of controlling the brightness of your mid-tones, shadows and highlights. Dynamic brightness, which is some sort of magic. Your contrast, so you can bring the whites up or the blacks up, or some other thing called soft contrast, which is another magic. Structure, which we've met before in Viveza, and that's your clarity, as it were. And you can see, because this is a high structure shot, it's got 33 on there already as a preset. So that's your main toolkit, which you can play with for quite a while. Selective adjustments, you can pop on your control points like we saw in Viveza, and put more structure down here, put less structure up there, more contrast over here, whatever you want to do. Okay. Colour filter. So in the old days of black and white, you used to put filters over your lens and get different effects. So if you put a red filter on a black and white film, all the blues would go darker, and anything that's sort of reddy would go brighter. Similar with an orange, actually fairly similar with a yellow. You can see there's not a lot of difference between the three. If anything, the grass was a little bit orangey and autumnal, so it's gone that colour. Green filter, probably my favourite. It's kind of a diplomatic filter, should we say. It seems to have a nice effect. That's the phone. Right, and blue. well, anything that's not blue goes darker. So all the fields and stuff, there's no blue in there, but the sky stays light because that was relatively blue. So that's what the colour filters do. You've also got the capability of changing how big the effect is. So you don't you don't click on the red and then you're stuck there. You can make it more effective, or so the sky goes black, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go back to the green. There we go. Film types. Now this is where it gets really interesting for anyone who's been in a wet lab or anything like that before, where you darkroom. It actually has a set of simulated films here. So right from a low ISO Kodak Ilford, and not ever having really done much with film before, I can only take its word for it that these are accurate, and people who've used it. But you can have a little look up and down. But in things like, just close that, go to neutral. It's got different sensitivities. So, well, first off, there's a grain, because film was made up of little grains of chemicals, and that's where your negative came from when it was exposed to light. So you can have really grainy shots. You can see the sky's gone properly old-fashioned and grainy. And then also different films had different responses to colour. So some films might have really bright reds, so you get that sort of effect. I'm going to get rid of the grain actually, because I quite like smooth shots. Or brighten your blues up or darken your blues down. You can have a plane here. And the other thing is our ever favourite, the curve. Okay, so I think I'm going to darken the foreground down a little bit. And I think, it was quite yellow, was that grass, yellowy orange. Okay, so that's your film type. And finally, you can tone it. So if you have a little click on here, you've got all these different colour tones. So I always like selenium. It's got this sort of like bluish, purplish tone to it, which is really nice. There's a blue toner. If you want to go properly blue, there's cyanotype. Yeah, that's nice. Coffee. Copper. So these are all there to simulate probably real processes, I would imagine. Sepia, often very nice for prints and things. These ambient types are a bit weird. But I'm going to go for a medium selenium tone, like that. And I'm going to go back to our global adjustments. And let's just have a little play here. So if you wanted your blacks to go a bit darker, you could go to Amplify Blacks and see what happens. Just go a little bit darker in the distance, or a bit lighter. Okay. Contrast. Oh, I haven't finished down here. But you've got your vignette, which is the dark edges. So I'll put that on there. Got all sorts of borders and things like that, which you can add if you want to. I've never really worked out why you'd want to add these unless you're putting them on a nice website or something like that. If you print them, I suppose it saves on buying a mount board. Vignette and burn edges. So it's a bit like a vignette, but it's just on the edges, and they're all configurable. That is a real quick whistle-stop tour of what is one of the most powerful plugins available. You've just got to open it up, play around, get stuck in, and just enjoy yourself, really, because it really is powerful. And when you're happy, you click Save, and it opens back up in Lightroom. Okay, thanks a lot.